To trace the roots of gypsies, a vagrant minor tribe, one has to tread the sands of time that lie just beyond the 12th century. Caught in the tide of change, they assume different shapes and forms in different countries. In England, they were known as gypsies. In France, gyptine. In Holland, gyptonaire. In Germany, siani. In Russia, shangani. In Romania, ashtigan. And in Sri Lanka, they are called Aigundikyas. Tossed across many cultures and migration being almost a generic trait, this wandering kind is said to have its origin in North India. But contrary views are not ruled out. In 1844, Auguste Frederick Port, through linguistic research, established North India as their land of origin. And another pioneering study conducted in Sri Lanka by M.D. Raghavan revealed amazing similarities between the physical features, habits, customs and occupations of Aiguntikas and the North Indian Kuravar or Kaurava tribe. Being a migrant tribe, the gypsies are able to speak a little of several languages. In Sri Lanka, Aiguntikyas use Telugu, an Indian dialect, as their mother tongue, and practice Shaivism, a variety of Hinduism as religion. The tribe is divided into two on caste lines. The one known as Muddali or Maddali earns its living by training monkeys to dance, painting tattoos, and sharpening grinding stones. But the members of the Aiguntika caste work only as snake charmers. Aiguntikyas claim superiority over the Muddalis, and intercaste marriages are strictly prohibited. Although migration has infused features of different cultures into their life, Aiguntikyas inherit a unique cultural legacy of their own. After a long trek across the metropolis, they find repose on the bank of a river, edge of a lake, or on the verge of a canal, as water is a core element in their cultural activities. Though they huddle into a tightly knit community, they pitch up tents known as nailas for each family. The first night descends totally upon their encampment. A fresh sun is breaking into their cluster of camps. Aiguntikyas never forget to invoke their dead, to bless, protect and watch over them before they set off to work in the morning.
na bangaru muslima na eri phone piyata ochata pala tochi na eri phone na bangaru muslima baga pala dawala na swami kannamma na bangaru devula na eri phone ni sachadani phone na kash kaapadi na ni eri sultan meter phone yamuda baga kash kaapadi.
The older members fan out in different directions to show monkey dance, read palms, and paint tattoos.
ටිකක් කෑවනා දැන් මේ පොඩි පොඩි ළමයි ටික මේ වාගේ බිමත් වෙල්ලිනා ඒව නෙමෙයි. අල්ලන්න පොඩි සර්කස් එකක් බලන්න ලස්සනට. හරි ඉක්මන් කරලා. අන්න හරි. තවත් ටිකක් අල්ලපන් බලන්න. හරි ඉතින් මේ බලන්න මේ කොහමද අර උලේ තිබ්බට තාලේ ටිකක් වෙන්න. සිංහල රජ කාලේ පොඩි සැලුට් එකක් දෙන්න. සැලුට් එකක් දීලා ගන්න ඔයාගේ පිළිමක්. ඉතින් පොඩි සන්තෝෂ වෙලා ගන්න ඔයාගේ පිළිමක් බලන්න. අන්න හරි. වරකන් කරපු තාලේ ටිකක් වෙන්න. අර ජනලේ කරපු තාලේ. අන්න හරි. ආන්නේ මාංච දාලා දැන් වැරදකාරිය. අනේ වැරදකාරිය පිටේ වල.
මලයාලම් සතර උණු සතර නිමිති සතර අත බලලා ලස්සනට කියනවා. ලොකු නෝනාගේ මුණ දිහා බලනකොට බොහොම වැදගත් බලාපොරොත්තු දේවල් තියෙනවා. නෝනාගේ අතීතය අනාගතය ගැන මතු ජීවිතය ගැන ඔක්කොම කියනවා. වෙච්ච දේවල් වෙන තියෙන දේවල් ඉතේ තියෙන දේවල් ඉස්සරහට වෙන දේවල්
While the children played dinghy, a unique game and livelihood in which the boys beat their rib cages with folded hands to produce a rhythm to which they dance. Not everyone of the community goes out to work. The ones who stay behind engage in fishing or hunting. The rest prepares things needed for their daily living. The dusk is gradually taking over the hectic day. I-20 spend part of their daily earning on food and the other on liquor. Supper is a vital moment to the community as it reunites after being temporarily scattered by the demands of living. Another night envelopes them as they drown their toil in liquor and dance. Aikuntikyas associate the presence of the dark forces at every birth. The evil spirit is called Sinnabida Puttani Muttu in their language. They resort to a number of rituals to ward off these forces, poised to destroy the newborn. The rituals take the form of sacrifices or offerings made to the spirits of their ancestors or invisible powers. Soon after the child is born, a portion of medicinal herbs is given to the mother to drink. With this, the woman is legally entitled to use liquor for the rest of her life. The dark forces are believed to be hovering over for 7 days since the child is born. So, a fresh talavadia is set up adjacent to hers. The midwife who assists during confinement also receives a glass of cheap liquor as token of gratitude. According to Buddhist literature, Aiguntikyas ensue from a Brahmin who was condemned to roam the streets for inflicted pain on the Buddha in one of his previous births. Because of this, Aiguntikyas never take off their turban, even before the king of the land. This legend is passed down to the younger generation with great pride. The dark forces once again take positions to hassle the young girl who attains age. This evil is known as Paddagain Anapindamuttu in their tribal language. The girl is isolated in a separate hut during the period of puberty. She will hold a piece of iron and have meals on a piece of white cloth. She is also denied a mat to sleep on. The leftovers of her meal are buried inside the hut where only one other female is allowed to keep company. These rituals are performed to keep away the gaze of the dark forces, thirsting for the virgin's menstrual blood. On the proposed day, before the break of dawn, several women in the community bathe the girl.
9
bowls of red, yellow and black rice are thrown over the girl to satiate invisible forces, greedily waiting to enjoy the menstrual discharge. They slit the throat of a fowl as an offering and draw a line with the same knife and make the girl skip over it before they set fire to the hut in which she spent her temporary exile. Once this is done, they believe that the girl is safe from all dangers that lurk during her puberty. The morning sun shines upon the Virgin, who now has to leave the world of child behind her. 7 days since her first bath after puberty, the rightful partner could come forward to claim her as spouse. In the rigid Aikuntaka tribe, marriages take place only between blood cousins. They are fixed at birth by the elders of the community. If anyone violates a fixed marriage, he or she has to pay a fine to the community. Wedding ceremonies do not take place out of the blues. They are arranged beforehand and celebrated over a week with friends and relatives. Before the wedding day, 2 fresh palladia are erected for the bride and the groom. The wedding ceremony, which is normally held on a Friday, begins with a water procession. Relatives of the bride and groom exchange pots of water as a sign of prosperity. The groom is escorted under a canopy to a place where 2 pestles are parallelly placed on the ground, strewn with grains and fruit leaves. Once the couple sits on the pestles, milk is poured over them from a pot. Soon after, a fowl is sacrificed, grain strewn upon the bride, and a piece of saffron tied on her hand. The wedding necklace is fastened round her neck. This necklace is the core of their family life. It is taken off only if the bride becomes a widow. If the hand of the groom shivers while fixing the necklace, it is attributed to some of his bad behavior in the past. The others now try to grab the knife or the turban of the groom when he tries to sneak into his hut with the bride. If he loses, then he has to bribe them with cheap liquor to get them back. But the biggest challenge is to smuggle the bride into the hut through the drunk members. The gathering twilight encircles the newly wedded couple. It is a deep-rooted custom of the Haigundikas to check the virgin's chastity after the wedding. This is known as checking cloth. 3 sisters or cousin sisters of the groom take part in this event, and the parents are not involved. And at times invisibly, the shadow of the long arm of male dominancy falls across the Haiguntaka society. Although the celebration at the groom's house is now known as Astom, a corrupt use of the English words at home, the traditional name is Odipolbion. During the celebration, a piece of gold placed on leaves of betel is sent around to the invitees. From the money that collects on the tray, rupees 750 is given to the bride's mother for breastfeeding. The balance is kept for the couple's expenses. The dowry is presented on the Thursday that falls after the wedding. A donkey, a dog and a box with a snake is included in the dowry package, needed for a new life. These are considered as the basic components of a Haikuntaka family. In this male-dominant tribe, the woman has an obscure place. During a woman's menstrual cycle, she is treated like an untouchable. She has to abstain from all household chores. She takes her meals and sleeps outside the hut. The male takes over the work, including cooking. Every Haikuntaka woman has to face this ugly fate, as long as she is a part of this tribe, where men do not feel sympathetic, however much hostile the nature turns out to be. Water is an essential part of most of their cultural activities, like the wedding. Their legal system too makes use of water very frequently. Arachila is the one who sits in judgment over disputes among members. The man who informs Arachila about these disputes is called Kundakart. Lekama is another important figure in the legal system. Those who are charged with petty offences have to pay reasonable fines. The offender could reduce the amount of the fine by bargaining with the judge. The tribal law makes it compulsory to pay the fine in liquor. In the case of a divorce, the law which is biased towards the male requires that the one who requests for it should pay back the money spent by the other at their wedding. In the act of prostitution, the whole sin is blamed on the woman. If the woman admits her sin, as a punishment she has to carry several grinding stones on her head and walk round the camp. To escape from the influence of this sin, the woman has to go round the camp, chanting the words, Elipadini Tirpa. And later her tongue is burnt to avoid the evil that could come upon the community because of her sinful behavior. The peculiar Ahikuntaka judicial system erases the wrong of a man once he is punished. If he is insulted by somebody, the law permits to mete out the same punishment to the insulter. The suspect of a grave crime can prove his innocence by swearing in boiling oil. Standing before the tribal assembly, he first shows his finger and then dips in a pot of boiling oil. The underlying meaning of this harsh test is to prove the strength of an innocent man who has been falsely accused. A goat is slaughtered to drive out the evil that could hold sway over the community, owing to the swearing. If the suspect does not get blisters or boils on the finger, he could suggest whatever punishment he likes to be given to the complainant. Death, which arrives at the most unexpected of moments, is considered an evil, and it's called Sachinoni Muttu. The dead body is removed out of the Talavadi and bathed. To keep away the germs, saffron is applied on the corpse. The widow of the dead man places two lamps, one near the head and the other at the feet. There are numerous mysterious stories about how the Ahikuntikas bury their dead, but they flatly refuse the story which says that they abandon the Talavadiya after burying the corpse upright in a narrow grave. The whole web of rituals that takes place at death dispels the above story as a baseless myth. Normally, burials take place in the evening. They keep the dead body by the side while cutting the grave. Once the body is buried, they remove the blades of the mammoties and fix them back incorrectly and throw them across the grave mound. This ritual is unique to the Ahikuntika tribe. Thereafter, they place parts of fowl liver on a leaf of betel and leave it on the grave with a glass of cheap liquor. The widow has to now display her fidelity to her dead husband, placing her wedding necklace on the grave. A deep reverential fear for the unknown has given rise to many forms of rituals to placate and exploit these forces. Thus, a number of spectacular cultural features have enhanced their legacy. They bathe from a stream and apply cow dung with a blade of grass from head to toe, chanting Nipul Digi Digi Po to dispel the evil that resides in them after the burial. Ahikuntikas respect their dead with awe and reverence. So 7 days after the burial, they hold an almsgiving known as Tittikur. They take the eldest son of the dead silently in the night to a stream and bathe him using a vinova. On his way back to his tent, someone has to cry out loud to the rest of the members to put out the light in the huts. They believe that the evil one dwells where there is light. After spending one night without sleep and meals behind a white screen, the next day he talks with a person who does not belong to his clan, and then begins communicating with his own. A structure made out of parts taken from a plantain tree receives the same treatment in the absence of sun. Within the Ahikuntaka culture, we come across many offerings made to the dead. The annual remembrance of a dead one is called Muktishi Moksharita. They spread a mat on a well-swept open yard and keep a bundle of cigars with pounded betel and a glass of liquor along with different types of food the dead person was fond of. The eldest son first sips the liquor, chanting Muktishi Muktarita, and then offers to the rest. Today, this vagrant tribe, which inherits a unique cultural legacy, is tottering on the brink of an uncertain tomorrow. The present generation is fantasizing to forsake the vagrant lifestyle and fuse with Sri Lanka's mainstream. They are dreaming of walking out on their culture to dwell in a permanent home instead of a talvadia, and abandon the snake box for a mammoth and possess a bicycle or a motorbike in place of the primitive donkey. But the feeble voice of those who are living their life's twilight is totally different. The ones who are responsible for the present crisis within the tribe are hidden behind names like Dharmadasa, Pisomanika, who are a sharp deviation from the tribal names such as Agatanna and Iranna. They are trapped in a no-man's land, rejected by their own culture and unaccepted by the mainstream. Who knows what their fate will be? They are neither Sinhalese nor Aikuntikas. Then who are they? While this unanswered question is gnawing at their tribal conscience, another day dawns upon them.